I was in an anti-racism training recently, and the speaker asked us to think about the definition of the terms ally, co-conspirator, and accomplice. And their definitions within the anti-racism training conversation were not what many of us thought they were going to be. So I just wondered what your thoughts were about these terms around anti-racism work.
So we don't spend a lot of time talking about that different terminology.
Yeah.
We do. So one of the ongoing issues with terminology, especially in the context of race, that we mentioned with the way race is defined in racial formation theory, that there's conceptual inflation and deflation.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens with terms like ally. And so, so you have a new term come along to specify what's important, and then it will go through basically a white appropriation of the term where it gets really deflated.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that happening with ally. And so that's why we're trying to emphasize compassion and connection. We ask the question, like, who do you cry to? Like, that level of friendship is what we're talking about. When we're talking about allyship, that would be the way we understand allyship, that it's a much deeper, much more intimate friendship connection across racial differences.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and so in this sense, I think I want to preface this by saying, in a theological context, what we're really talking about is recognizing, the Imago Dei, the idea that everybody's created in the image of God. But this is what we talked about when we were talking about the sacred today. It's this deep and profound interconnectedness. This idea that we are different, but that we are at the same time, as King would say, like bound together, right, in the fabric of our lives. Like we are all woven together in the tapestry of the universe. And once you get there and you understand that, you're able to see that these terms, while maybe helpful to distinguish what you mean in terms of compassionate acts, which is what we're going to get at, which I think is what they're trying to get at, aren't helpful in as much as we can create these silos where we say, well, you're not being an accomplice, you're just being an ally, right? Rather than saying, really, this is what I need you to do, right? This is what I need as a BIPOC person. This is this is the relationship I think we have to have. And I don't know that the English language actually has the appropriate term to describe the kind of relationship we're talking about. Because even as Seth said the word relationship, the first thing I thought was, or friendship, this is a relationship. Seth and I have a relationship, right? And I have relationships with other people that I trust in these conversations, some of who are Black and some of who are not Black, they're, who are white. And so I think that it's more important, rather than to talk about terms of how we can distinguish these things, and talk about appropriate behavior, right? And talk about compassion. And we're going to end this whole program with a compass, this idea of, okay, what does compassionate action look like, right? What does it embody? What does it look like? And a lot of times those terms are wrapped up in how it's performing white virtue. It's how do we see ourselves, and what word I want to use to describe myself to say I'm on the right side of history. I don't, whatever you call yourself is whatever. I want to see what you do, Yeah. Like, what do? You can say, I'm not ally, I'm not accomplice, but this is the stuff I do. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then me and you, we cool. Like, we're down, So that's how I feel.
That's great. It's actually really helpful because the terms surprised me a little bit in that they weren't. I thought that ally was a positive term, but the way it was presented to us was, no, it's really a negative term because there's no action around it. You're kind of standing back at a distance and saying, oh yeah, I support that, but you're not really doing anything. And I had a little trouble with that. But
yeah, so what you're witnessing there is the deflation of the term.
Yeah.
So ally did mean action. It did include that. That's why it became a new term. I forget what the term was before that, but that's why it became a term, because it did include that. And then it goes through this normalizing process. Normal is racist, right? That's the critical race theory theme.
Right.
And so it becomes, oh, I'm an ally because I read about racism, or, I posted something on Facebook, or, I'm not really doing anything substantive, but I can still claim that allyship. So it allows white people to protect their sense of integrity about being anti-racist, even though they're not actually doing anything about it.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful.